Welcome to our magical bedtime story. Tonight, we'll journey into the enchanted tale of little Briar Rose. Make yourself comfortable as we begin our peaceful adventure. In a time long forgotten, in a castle wrapped in morning mist, there lived a king and queen. Each morning and each evening, they would whisper the same gentle wish: if only we had a child. One peaceful day, while the queen was taking a quiet bath, something magical happened. A small frog emerged from the crystal clear water. With a voice as soft as silk, it spoke. "Your wish shall be fulfilled. Before the year has passed, you shall bring a daughter into this world." And just as the frog had promised, the queen gave birth to a little princess. She was so beautiful that the king's heart overflowed with joy. In his happiness, he planned a magnificent celebration. He invited not just family and friends, but also the 13 wise women of his kingdom. These enchanting beings possessed the power to bestow magical gifts upon the child. However, the king had only 12 golden plates for the feast, and so one wise woman would have to remain uninvited. The feast was celebrated with all splendor. The wise women presented their magical gifts to the child. One gave virtue, another beauty, a third riches, and so on, with everything wonderful that one could wish for in the world. But just as 11 of them had spoken their blessings, the 13th wise woman suddenly appeared, her cloak rustling softly in the silent hall. Without greeting or looking at anyone, she spoke in a voice that echoed through the castle. In the 15th year of her age, the princess shall prick herself with a spindle and shall fall down dead. Before anyone could speak, she turned and left the great hall. Everyone stood frozen in fear. But the 12th wise woman, who had yet to give her gift, stepped forward. Though she couldn't undo the cruel curse completely, she could soften it. "It shall not be death," she whispered, but instead a deep sleep of 100 years, from which only true love's kiss may awaken the princess. The king, determined to protect his daughter, ordered all spindles in the kingdom to be burned, and as the princess, whom they called Briar Rose, grew up, all the gifts of the wise women came true. She was beautiful, modest, kind, and clever. On the day she turned 15, the king and queen were away from the castle. Briar Rose wandered through the halls and chambers, exploring every corner of her home, until she came to an old tower. Up the winding stairs she climbed, until she reached a small door with a rusty key in the lock. She turned it, and the door creaked open. There, in a tiny room, sat an old woman spinning flax. "Good morning, dear grandmother," said Briar Rose. "What are you doing there?" "I am spinning," said the old woman, nodding her head. The princess, never having seen a spindle before, reached out to touch it, and in that moment, the prophecy was fulfilled. The spindle pricked her finger, and she fell into a deep sleep. The sleep spread like a gentle wave throughout the castle. The king and queen, who had just returned home, the horses in their stables, the dogs in the yard, the pigeons on the roof, the flies on the walls. Even the fire in the kitchen grew still and silent. Around the castle, a hedge of thorns began to grow. Each year it grew higher and higher, until the castle was hidden completely from view. Many princes tried to break through the thorny hedge, but the thorns held them fast, and they could not free themselves. Years passed like whispers in the wind, until one day, when 100 years had almost passed, a young prince heard the legend of the sleeping princess. When he approached the castle, the thorns had turned to flowers. They parted gently before him, letting him pass unharmed. In the courtyard, he saw the sleeping horses and dogs. The pigeons slept on the roof, and inside, all was quiet and still. Finally, in the tower, he found Briar Rose. She lay there, so beautiful that he could not look away. He bent down and gave her a gentle kiss. In that moment, Briar Rose opened her eyes, and with her, the entire castle awakened. The horses stood up and shook themselves. The dogs wagged their tails. The pigeons raised their heads from under their wings. The fire in the kitchen began to flicker and cook the food. The prince and Briar Rose were married in a magnificent celebration, and they lived in happiness all their days. And so, our story comes to an end. May your dreams be filled with magic and wonder. Good night.